That morning, the atmosphere around a large building in Seoul felt busy with the activity of staff, visitors, and crew who seemed to be preparing for an internal company agenda. While the cool air wrapped the area, making many people choose to wear jackets or sweaters. In the midst of the bustle, Bang Si-hyuk was seen walking calmly, wearing a cream-colored cardigan paired with a light blue shirt and beige dress pants, a simple yet neat style characteristic of him. In his hand, he carried several large shopping bags with striking red handles, which appear to contain various gifts, whether company merchandise or special presents, attracting the attention of those who recognized him. He was accompanied by several male staff members dressed in black jackets and jeans, some busy holding their phones, while others spoke briefly as they ensured his path remained clear. Along the walkway, a few people who seemed to be employees or business partners noticed his presence, though most stayed focused on their own tasks such as checking documents or chatting in the corner of the area. Bang Si-hyuk continued walking slowly, occasionally glancing to his left and right as if making sure he was not missing anything, while the staff beside him gestured and pointed toward a certain direction, likely indicating the place he needed to go. With the bags in his hand, his steps looked steady, like someone who arrived with a clear purpose, and behind that there was a relaxed atmosphere, showing he was not in a rush. From a distance, his gaze seemed to settle briefly on an area where several members of the internal company team were gathered, giving the impression he might join them to discuss something before the official activity began. Even in the middle of a lively situation, his presence did not cause any commotion because most people at the location respected his privacy and busyness, allowing the moment to unfold naturally like an ordinary work routine behind the scenes of the music industry. The cool air mixed with sunlight filtering through the gaps between buildings added a refreshing touch to the morning, creating a harmonious setting for a simple encounter between an important figure in Korea's music industry and a familiar environment. This episode ends as Bang Si-hyuk and his group of staff approach a special entrance where several internal organizers appeared ready to welcome and escort him inside to continue his midday agenda. In the continuation of that morning, Bang Si-hyuk stepped inside the building, greeted by the quiet hum of air conditioning and the soft shuffle of footsteps echoing in the wide hallway as staff members moved about with purpose, carrying folders, equipment cases, and trays of refreshments to various meeting rooms. The bags in his hands swayed lightly as he walked, and a staff member discreetly offered to carry them, though he maintained a steady grip as if preferring to handle them himself. The corridor was lined with posters and framed photographs from past projects, a visual reminder of years of work and collaboration, and his eyes briefly moved across them while he kept his pace toward a designated meeting space. Upon arrival, a small table near the doorway was cleared to place the bags, their contents remaining unseen but giving off the impression of thoughtful preparation for whoever they were meant for. A few more people joined the space, quietly exchanging brief nods of acknowledgement, their movements calm yet efficient as they arranged seating and set up presentation materials. The atmosphere in the room was not rushed. Instead, it carried a measured rhythm typical of a day where everyone knew their roles and timelines. Bang Si-hyuk took a seat near the end of the table, adjusting the sleeves of his cardigan and glancing at some documents handed to him by a colleague. Outside the large glass windows, the daylight illuminated the edges of the furniture, casting soft shadows across the polished floor, while the distant sound of muted conversation from another room occasionally drifted in. A few minutes later, someone from the company's coordination team entered with a small notepad, checking off details of the schedule and confirming certain items with a quick nod before stepping out again. The bags remained at the side, a quiet presence in the corner of the room, hinting at their significance without demanding attention. The air in the meeting space had a sense of quiet focus, yet there was also an undercurrent of warmth, as if the day's purpose was not purely business but carried a personal dimension as well. The flow of activity continued steadily, with papers being reviewed, digital screens being prepared, and brief notes being passed along, marking the slow but consistent progress of the morning's agenda. This episode draws to a natural close as Bang Si-hyuk leaned back slightly in his chair, the light catching the lenses of his glasses, while a staff member gently signaled that the next segment of the day's schedule was about to begin, leading him to prepare for the transition to the following engagement. As the midday hours approached, the atmosphere within the building settled into a comfortable rhythm, with the steady movement of staff and the low hum of background activity creating a sense of quiet productivity. Bang Si-hyuk rose from his chair with an unhurried demeanor, collecting the shopping bags from their place by the table before stepping out into the hallway accompanied by two close staff members who kept a discreet but attentive presence. The corridor now carried the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifting from a nearby break area, where a few employees paused their work to greet each other in passing. Natural light from tall windows spilled onto the polished floor, casting long, gentle reflections that seemed to follow the small group as they made their way toward a more private section of the building. Entering a lounge-like space with softer lighting and comfortable seating, Bang Si-hyuk set the bags down on a low table, the muted sound of the handles brushing against the surface breaking the stillness of the room for a brief moment. Around him, the setting felt less formal. Plants placed in corners, shelves lined with neatly arranged books and memorabilia, and a sideboard where neatly wrapped refreshments were waiting. A member of the internal team arrived carrying a slim folder and placed it on the arm of the sofa near him, offering a subtle nod before quietly leaving again. The bags remained untouched for the moment, their purpose seemingly reserved for later in the day, while Bang Si-hyuk took a moment to look through some notes on his phone, occasionally glancing at the quiet street visible beyond the large window. Outside, pedestrians moved at an unhurried pace, and the soft shifting of tree branches in the breeze seemed to mirror the calm pace of the afternoon inside. A gentle knock on the doorframe preceded the entrance of another staff member who signaled that preparations for the next meeting were complete. With a slight adjustment of his cardigan and a steady grip on the bags once more, Bang Si-hyuk made his way out of the lounge, moving toward a smaller meeting room nearby, where a select few people were already gathered, creating an atmosphere that blended professionalism with a hint of personal connection. The episode closes as the door to that room eases shut behind him, leaving the faint murmur of conversation from within to mingle with the subdued stillness of the surrounding corridor. The smaller meeting room carried a quieter and more intimate tone compared to the larger spaces earlier in the day, with soft overhead lighting and a round table that brought everyone closer together. Bang Si-hyuk placed the shopping bags neatly by his side, their presence acknowledged but not yet opened, while those present arranged documents, tablets, and neatly folded papers in front of them. The group exchanged brief nods of recognition, settling into their seats as the room filled with the muted sound of shuffling chairs and the occasional click of a pen. Outside the window, the daylight had shifted to a warmer hue, indicating the slow progression of the afternoon, while inside, the air remained cool and still, creating a comfortable backdrop for the ongoing discussions. A staff member quietly moved around the table, placing glasses of water within easy reach, while another adjusted a small projector to ensure the screen at the far wall displayed the necessary visuals for the meeting. Bang Si-hyuk's attention was steady and engaged, occasionally jotting down notes in a small leather-bound notebook, his expression calm yet focused. The bag stayed untouched but seemed to hold a certain quiet significance, as if their contents were intended for a specific moment that had yet to arrive. The conversation flowed in an even rhythm, punctuated by the turning of pages and the faint tapping of keys from a nearby laptop. As the session progressed, there was a brief pause when refreshments were brought in, a modest tray of tea, coffee, and neatly arranged biscuits, which provided a natural break before the group resumed their work. The pace of the afternoon felt measured, with no sign of urgency, allowing each point of discussion to be addressed thoroughly. In the background, the steady hum of the building's ventilation system blended with the faint sounds from the hallway, where occasional footsteps passed by. Gradually, stepping out into the late afternoon air, Bang Si-hyuk was met with a gentle breeze that carried the faint scent of nearby greenery, a contrast to the cool, filtered atmosphere of the building he had just left. The parking area was calm and orderly, with a few vehicles parked in designated spaces and a small security team maintaining a discreet watch over the surroundings. His staff moved ahead to open the rear door of a sleek black van, while he paused briefly to adjust his grip on the shopping bags, their weight shifting slightly as he positioned them for easier handling. The sunlight, now softer and tinged with gold, reflected faintly off the polished surface of the vehicle, casting a warm glow across its side panels. As he approached the open door, another staff member emerged from a nearby sedan to exchange a few quiet words with the assistant closest to him, likely confirming details of the evening's remaining schedule. Without any sign of rush, Bang Si-hyuk placed the bags gently on the seat beside him, taking a moment to arrange them so they would remain secure during the ride. The interior of the van was dimly lit and cool, offering a sense of privacy and comfort after several hours of structured activity. Once seated, he glanced briefly out the tinted window, watching as a pair of pedestrians passed by on the sidewalk, their casual pace in harmony with the unhurried close of his own day. The driver, after receiving a subtle signal from one of the staff, started the engine with a quiet hum, and the van eased out of the parking area, merging smoothly onto a street where traffic moved steadily but without congestion. Through the glass, the city unfolded in a familiar pattern. Rows of shops with their signs glowing softly, small groups of people gathered at cafe terraces, and trees lining the avenue with their leaves shifting gently in the breeze. Inside the van, the atmosphere was one of calm transition, the kind of quiet that follows a day spent in purposeful but measured activity. The shopping bags remained in place, their roles still reserved for a moment that had not yet arrived, while Bang Si-hyuk leaned back against the seat, the rhythm of the city passing outside providing a steady backdrop. As the vehicle continued its journey, the fading daylight gave way to the first hints of evening, and the subtle shift in the city's tone signaled the close of one part of the day and the quiet anticipation of whatever awaited next. The van moved steadily through the city as the afternoon light mellowed into the soft hues of early evening. The streets bathed in a gentle amber glow that reflected off building facades and shop windows. Inside, the quiet hum of the vehicle created a cocoon-like atmosphere, allowing Bang Si-hyuk to sit in calm reflection while the staff in the front exchanged low, measured updates about timing and locations. The traffic flowed at a comfortable pace, passing clusters of people on their way home from work, small groups gathered at street-side food stalls, and cyclists weaving carefully between the lanes. From his seat, he occasionally shifted his gaze from the soft interior lighting of the van to the view outside, where the mix of modern glass towers and low, traditional-style buildings gave the passing scenery a layered, familiar character. The shopping bags rested neatly on the seat beside him, their arrangement undisturbed since leaving the building, still carrying an unspoken sense of purpose. After some time, the van slowed as it approached a quieter district, where tree-lined streets and low pedestrian activity gave the area a more residential feel. Turning into a side lane, the vehicle rolled to a gentle stop in front of a discreet, well-maintained building with soft exterior lighting. A member of the security team stepped forward to open the door, and Bang Si-hyuk emerged with the same unhurried composure that had marked his movements throughout the day. The air was cooler here, carrying the scent of damp earth from a recently watered garden nearby. With the bags once again in his hand, he followed a short, paved path toward the entrance, where a staff member held the door open and another was stationed just inside to greet him. The interior beyond the doorway was warmly lit, with polished wooden floors and a neatly arranged sitting area visible in the background. As he stepped inside, the door closed gently behind him, leaving the street outside in a soft hush, and the calm, welcoming atmosphere of the space marked a natural conclusion to the day's steady, deliberate sequence of movements, transitioning from the structured environment of earlier hours to the more personal and private setting of the evening. Inside the warmly lit space, the shift in atmosphere was immediate, replacing the structured pace of the day with a softer, more personal rhythm. The faint aroma of freshly brewed tea and the subtle fragrance of polished would fill the air, accompanied by the distant hum of a heating system maintaining a comfortable temperature. A low table near the sitting area had been set with a small arrangement of refreshments, neatly stacked teacups, a ceramic pot resting on a woven mat, and a plate of delicately arranged snacks. Bang Si-hyuk placed the shopping bags carefully on a cushioned bench along the wall, their presence instantly becoming part of the room's quiet order. A staff member discreetly stepped forward to hang his cardigan on a nearby coat stand, while another placed a glass of water on the side table beside a high-backed armchair. The setting felt calm, yet purposeful, as though everything had been arranged to allow him space to unwind while still attending to the small, meaningful interactions that often close a working day. He took a seat, leaning slightly back into the cushion, and glanced toward the bags as if mentally noting the moment when they would be opened. Outside the large window, the sky had deepened into a gradient of muted blues and soft grays, with the first few city lights beginning to shimmer in the distance. A few quiet movements from the adjoining room signaled that preparations were still underway, perhaps for a meeting of a more personal nature, though nothing in the pace of the evening felt rushed. The low murmur of footsteps across the wooden floor was followed by the arrival of another team member carrying a slim, gift-wrapped package, which was placed gently on the table near the bags, adding to the small collection waiting in the corner. Time passed in a steady, unhurried way, with each action and sound blending into the subdued comfort of the room. Eventually, Bang Si-hyuk rose from his seat, his hand once again finding the handles of the shopping bags, and with a quiet nod to the nearby staff, he moved toward an interior hallway leading deeper into the building, the muted lighting ahead suggesting the continuation of his evening in a space even more private, away from the quiet yet watchful rhythm of the outer rooms.